We came so far from dreams. The path was hard for me. They thought we fall, you see. Well, look at us now, look at us now. We make it hot when we on the scene. Yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team. Yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around. You know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we. Tell me who better than we. We soaring to places you never could reach. When we walk in that spot, don't hear none of you speak. Shh, do you want peace or the peace? A king about to put you to sleep. Listen, my team is elite. You not even qualified to compete. He starving, he barely can eat. I guess that's why he always itching for beef. So I put him on ice and I told him to chill. Close your mouth if you can't pay for the meal. Making statements that you know you don't mean. Nice guy trying to act like he mean. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean. Attitudes will put you dudes in the beam. Isekai, he don't live in reality. Shake back, all become a fatality. Yeah, how you gon' hate when you mirror us? He think he a star, he ain't serious. X him out, we not on the same frequency. If you broke, you ain't hearing this. Work the screw, anime, that's how I feel, period. We winning, that's making them furious. We make it high when we on the scene, yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team, yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around, you know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we.
Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, and I'm back. Back with you with another new What If for the beginning of the year. And we're back with What If Izuku was Isekai to Black Clover. This is part 19, and honestly, it's good to be back with this series after, 5 long months. So I'm going to enjoy with this part, to be honest. Anyway, let's go with that of a necessary recap. In the last part, we went over on how Asta, alongside that of Noelle, and even Izuku were training themselves for the night. Mainly Noelle training to create a barrier that allowed them to go underwater to the undersea temple. Izuku trying to understand that of, ki a lot more easier. And Asta doing a little bit more sword training here and there as well. With Izuku getting some improvements on how to use ki a lot better from that of Noelle and Asta. Asta getting at least a little bit more, control over his swordsmanship thanks to Izuku. And Noelle actually learning how to control her magic a lot more better thanks to not just Izuku and Asta, but also to a new girl named Koharu, who basically sings and dreams of becoming an idol, which Izuku basically encouraged her to become. But because of that of their encouragement, advice, and support, Noelle finally creates that of a proper barrier that allows them to go underwater and through that of the sea current, heading down to the underwater temple. So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? Reaching down to the underwater floors, with everybody a little bit nervous and kind of afraid about going underwater after all. However, over a while, they begin to get used to it. However, one thing is that they reach that of the monozone's entrance, where all of the, currents begin to basically push them around, with almost giving that of the feeling of seasickness, actually. But thanks to that of Noelle are basically flowing through that of the currents easily, almost like they're guiding her through that of the currents easily without causing any problems. Even causing that of both Yami and also Izuku to compliment her, that she did a great job making it through there, and that they are proud of her. With that, Noelle internally basically squealing from the joy of being praised by that of the person that she admires, being Captain Yami, and the person that she has a crush on being Izuku after all, as they finally made it through the entrance and then reached the full-on monozone, where everybody in the Black Bulls notice all of the sea life, with even Izuku could help but be completely caught off guard by the sea life, as he was expecting something completely magical or out of this world, but many of the sea life is sea life he would see in his world, like manta rays, clownfish, electric eels, and many, many, many other sea creatures. However, with one thing that caught his eye is that one of the fish were basically glowing, but not like those deep sea fish that you would see in the bottom of the ocean, but it was literally glowing, with Finro saying, "Holy crap, that fish is glowing. It's glowing it's magic, actually." With Izuku hearing that saying, "Wait, magic? So are you saying..." Within the first user within Izuku's mind, Yoichi spoke up saying, "It's most likely the fish in this ecosystem basically absorbed the magic and mana in this area, causing them to evolve into something. Just imagine, just like how in our world animals develop quirks like that of your principal, Izuku. What if animals here develop to be able to use magic?" If you think about it, it's kind of fascinating how similar both our worlds are, but different methods and abilities. But then the fifth user, Banjo, saying, "That's good, crazy and all, but just imagine how crazy it would be if one of them started basically shooting magical blasts from that of their mouths after all." With hearing that, Izuku could help but get curious, but also a little bit excited at the same time, before noticing that of Charmy, and also Gray, who basically transformed into Charmy, trying to go outside to eat the mana-infused fish, with both Izuku and Magna with Izuku grabbing Charmy and Magna grabbing that of Gray, with Magna saying, "Are you two idiots? Are you trying to get yourself drowned out there? And seriously, Gray, we already have one bottomless pit. We don't need another." With Izuku saying, "Yeah, I'm with that of Magna on this one, Miss Gray. You'd think you could become somebody else? That would basically put my nerves at ease." Ignoring the chaos basically going around, with Noelle they finally arrive to that of the undersea temple. However, standing in front of them is one large water barrier, where the barrier basically is composed of nothing but typhoons within the water. Within, Yami seeing this saying, "All right, kid, you're up." Looking at that of Asta, within saying, "Huh?" Within Yami explaining the fact that they need Asta's anti-magic swords to pierce right through the barrier, allowing them to get through. With Izuku saying that that's a smart idea, saying that they could try and brute force their way through, but who knows what kind of defense system that breaking through the barrier has, or if it could affect that of the underwater temple entirely, as he was about to go on a muttering spree. Within, Yami basically grabs him by Izuku's head, saying, "None of that right now, Poindexter," before dropping him, as Asta saying, "Captain Yami, coming to the beach was a lot of fun. However, I have come to one glaring realization that Izuku has shown me." Within, hearing his name, as Asta looks back with that of a nervous and somewhat embarrassed look, saying, "I can't swim." Within, Izuku's eyes widening, but also inside that of the Vestige world of One for All, alongside that of Nana and even Banjo, all basically realize, he's right, he can't swim. Realizing this situation, Izuku began to think, what if, as he remembers Asta's anti-magic swords, as he thinks, maybe if I, with soon, realizing what Captain Yami's about to do, as he already grabs Asta by his Magic Knight robe, saying, "Don't worry, kid, you got this. All you need to do, follow my lead and hold your breath." Within, Asta realized the situation, saying, "Wait, about that?" But soon, Yami looks at that of Izuku, as getting out of his thoughts, saying, "Midoriya," with Izuku saying, "Yes, Captain Yami. Use that quirk with a black tendril thing." But then saying, "Oh, Black Whip," before realizing, that actually could work. Within, using Black Whip to wrap around that of Asta's waist and make sure that he's secured. Within, Asta saying, "Wait, Izuku, what are you doing?" With Izuku saying, "Sorry about this, Asta, but the captain's right. Just take one deep breath." With Asta basically having multiple sweat drops coming off his face with a look of pure and utter panic. Before then, using that of his dark magic, Yami basically throws Asta outside of the barrier and towards out of the undersea barrier, as he basically yells underwater, but surprisingly keeping his breath closed at the same time, which kind of confuses Izuku. However, as he holds on tight into the barrier, using One for All to stabilize himself while having Black Whip out at the same time, as Asta finally brings out his the Slayer sword, as with just one tap of the blade, pierces right through the barrier completely, as Asta is still screaming before basically halting onto the ground and saying, "I'm gonna drown!" Before coming really to say, "Wait, there's air in here! I'm alive!" Before he could finish, that's when Noel's water barrier basically pops over him, and all the Black Bulls landed safely on their feet. However, basically completely soaking that of Asta. But then, Yami lights a cigarette saying, "Nice work, kid. Knew you could do it." Before walking off, as Magna and Luck basically banter a bit, calling Magna that of a scaredy cat, afraid that they were going to drown underwater due to Magna being a fire mage after all. And as for Ghosh, basically on top of Asta, not even caring that he's on top of that of the short anti-magic sword mage. With everybody else basically checking out the whole area. With Noelle, she's feeling quite exhausted. However, she can't help but admire her handiwork that she was able to make it through here. With even Izuku basically proud of her too as he smiles at her. With then everybody else looking around as they notice the undersea temple in the distance, as it almost looks like that of a giant coral reef, actually. With that, Charmy creates out of a flying cotton cloud that flows them over that of the temple. However, now that if Izuku gets a better look at it, it almost seems the pillars almost look like that of towers, actually. With Izuku wondering, did people live here at one point? With soon, that's when the fourth user, Shinomori, spoke up saying, "It's most likely. Remember that dungeon that you took part in a month back?" With Izuku remembering, didn't you think that it's weird that the entire dungeon looked like something that people would basically live in? Within thinking about that at the user of Danger Sense, realizing he got a point there. Is it possible that dungeons were once lost civilizations? If that's the case, then why? He hears Magnus saying, "Hey, everybody, keep on track. We may get attacked at some point, so be ready." But then Izuku hear that saying, "Oh, right." Before Noelle saying, "Seriously, Deku? You forget that you're basically his superior since you're higher ranked than him." With then saying, "Well, yeah, I guess so, but still, Magna does have a good point. We could be attacked at any time, so..." Within the second user, Kudo spoke up saying, "Ninth, remember, Danger Sense would activate if need be, right, Shinomori?" But then, the scarred face fourth user saying, "Exactly. Danger Sense would definitely activate. However, you do know it still has some of its limitations. It's only when amplified by the grimoire that Danger Sense is a lot more accurate." Within hearing this, Izuku began to think, wait, that's it? Before then bringing out his own grimoire of his storage magic. Before bringing out that of the fourth user's grimoire, as he begins to activate that of sensing magic, enhancing his senses as he begins to feel multiple mana signatures all across the temple. But then realizing, it looks like this place isn't abandoned as we thought it was, Captain. But then Yami looking at that of the young man that he believes to be part of his country, saying, "Oh, I get it now." Looking at him having his grimoire out saying, "Everyone be on guard. We may get a welcoming up party." As they land down, within, as Izuku's still having his grimoire, as a lot of signatures are coming near him, and all the Black Bulls, with Luck looking quite excited, Ghosh not even caring but still prepared anyway, even Magna getting quite, a little bit worried too, but still pumped at the same time, with even Asa preparing his anti-magic swords, Before then, noticing a lot of people that are actually human basically surrounding them, wondering if they're basically getting ready for a fight. Before then, all of the civilians basically say, "We have visitors!" Within catching almost everybody, the Black Bulls completely off guard. Well, except that of Yami, actually. As all of the people at the underwater temple couldn't help but be crowd that of the Black Bulls, also be impressed that they're also magic knights as well, as they don't really get that many visitors being here, to be honest. As what's also catching them completely off guard is, since they are the Black Bulls, they don't get a lot of, appreciation since they are the worst magic knights after all. So it's kind of a little bit jarring for them, except for Izuku. He's somewhat used to this, but not entirely, as of course his nervousness and, shyness does take effect after all. As Vanessa is also enjoying the, attention. However, she does remind that of everybody that they need to look at the magic stone, mainly looking at that of Yami when she said it. Within, Yami saying, "Good point about that," as he soon walks up to a crowd of underwater sea dwellers and saying, "Yo, tell me where the head honcho of this place is." Okay. As both Asta and Izuku saying, "Maybe we should ask nicely, Captain, you can't just act like that when they're being so nice." After saying that, a few of them begin to basically speak like that of Yami, and however, they are still being somewhat polite at the same time, while giving them directions towards their, to the head elder of the undersea temple, but looking like delinquents and thugs in the process. Which both Asta and Izuku scream at the same time, "He just started a trend!" As, of course, once again, the dwellers continue to, be friendly towards that of the Black Bulls, with Finral trying to hit on a few, girls, however, and think that Gray would help him out. However, she is currently transformed into Gordon, the member that they forgot that they left at the Black Bulls hideout, with Asta commenting saying, "Wow, it's a lot more easier here than usual." Within, Izuku saying, "You won't catch me complaining. If we can settle this without that of fighting, then I appreciate that even more." With Noelle commenting about the both saying, "Well, at least you both won't be in your near-death experience like always." With then Izuku a little bit embarrassed saying, sorry." With then us saying, "Hey, I don't try to get in this situation a lot." With the two basically being roasted by Noelle as they finally reach the top of the temple. With then the many of the dwellers basically tell them good luck and wish them the best. With that, Izuku realized, wait, what do they mean by that? As both Bruce and Kudo, the second and third users, saying, "Most likely, we're being led into a trap." As soon as they said that, that's when the door closes, with Izuku coming to realization saying, "Oh crap." With soon Yami saying, "What's you so worried about, kid? It's not like..." Within, up top, as they see that of a giant monstrous eel, with that of Asta and that of Noelle basically freaking out like crazy, as Noelle basically telling that of Asta to do something, with Asta way too freaked out to do anything, as he just says that it may not even be dangerous, it may be friendly, and it just looks scary, as it rushes towards them. However, at the same time, that's when Luck, Magna, and Ghosh, alongside Izuku, without warning, basically send that of a fire blast, an electric shock, a mirror reflecting blast, alongside that of Air Force flick shot towards that of the massive eel, as it basically gets overwhelmed by the flurry of attacks. With the three, Magna, Luck, and Ghosh saying, "That ought to do it. What the hell even was that thing anyway?" With Asta screaming out, "You guys didn't hesitate at all!" With it, you look at Izuku saying, "Izuku, why did you?" Before looking at the greenette, as he looks over it saying, "Luckily it's not dead. It just looks like it's passed out, thankfully." With then Noelle saying, "Wow, I'm surprised that you're worried about it after you basically send a massive wind shockwave towards it." But Izuku saying, sorry, kind of overreacted a little bit. And plus, I'm not a big fan of animal cruelty, so I wanted to make sure that we didn't kill it. Looking at that of both Luck, Magna, and Ghosh with that of an angry look, with Magna basically whispering, Luck trying to turn away with that of his smiling face, and Ghosh just not caring, saying, what? If you got something to say it. With Izuku stopped narrowing his eyes before huffing. As for then, he soon notices that somebody is coming towards them, and their mana levels are pretty high at that, saying, everyone on guard, somebody's coming. With then, everybody else begin to get on guard before hearing a chuckle saying, hee hee hee, with everybody narrowing their eyes. With then, seeing that of an elderly man with that of flowing long, white hair basically standing up with a long goatee as well and mustache. But then, as he's still smiling, saying, it's been so long time since we had such immaculate and entertaining guests here at the temple. Allow me to officially welcome you to the Undersea Temple. I am the High Priest. As he gives off that of a two-finger cat pose, actually, with Magna basically narrowing his eyes a bit and not impressed, saying, seriously, this is the guy in charge of this place? With Yami, not even phased, saying, seriously, that's one hell of a welcome, old man. As Noelle kind of getting annoyed at the fact that they were basically tricked into that of this. And the old man laughing at the fact that they've scared them, especially her of all people. As for Charmy, she soon heads that of the massive eel, saying, it looks so tasty. Within, Izuku saying, Miss Charmy, stop. It's a living creature. I know you like to eat things, but before he could finish, he blinks multiple times, saying, that thing isn't real, is it? Within, everybody looks at the green net before looking back at the man, saying, that thing is made from your magic, right? Within, that of the high priest saying, hee hee hee, you're actually quite impressive, kid. I didn't think that you would actually figure that out so soon. As he snaps his fingers, as it soon basically is cut in multiple pieces, before then fading away, and that's of motes of mana. Within, Izuku looked at the old man, with Yoichi saying, be on your guard, Izuku. You couldn't even tell what kind of magic he's using, can't you? Within, Izuku saying, not necessarily. But soon, remembering every other Magic Knight captain's basic magic after all, and even that of the Wizard King Julius's magic. I've seen so many types of magic that it's something similar to quirks, but yet this guy's, if I had to make a guess, if he's able to create something like that, it might be something to Yaoyorozu's quirk. But where she can create that of inanimate objects, it seems like he's able to create that of living objects using his magic. Instead, possibly, he's even more limited than her, only able to create that of living creatures like that of Molly. Sea creatures, though. If that's the case, with Bruce commenting saying, then you better be more on your guard. It's most likely he already knows on why you're all here. Which basically confirms what Bruce said, as the priest saying, you're all here for the magic stone, are you not? With Yami basically on guard, with even Izuku narrowing his eyes a bit, saying, looks like Third was right. With the priest continuing saying, if you want the magic stone, you have to play a little game of mine, putting everybody else in the Black Bulls a lot more on edge. Within, even us saying, what kind of game are you wanting us to play? As that of the high priest, with that of a look of seriousness saying, my game is, as he's soon basically saying how squishy the boobs are, as he looks at that of Noelle and Vanessa. Before then, Noelle, without warning, basically punches that of the high priest and not pure another annoyance. However, without warning, she basically screams out, smash! Before then, stomping on his back over and over again, before saying, how about we play this instead, you perverted old bastard? With Asta freaking out saying, hey, you can't do that to the high priest. Isn't he supposed to be in charge of this place? With Noelle continually basically stomping on his back saying, so what? I'm royalty. With Izuku looking quite nervous. Before then, Luck saying, hey, didn't she just say smash? Isn't that your catchphrase, Izuku? With then, Izuku realizing this saying, yeah, actually. before looking at Noelle with a bit of a blush. Before then, she notices Izuku's look as she also begins blushing, saying, "What are you looking at, you damn Deku?" With Izuku nurse saying, sorry. As Noelle feeling a little bit embarrassed, saying, "I can't believe I said that out loud. I meant to say it in my mind, damn it." With Vanessa looking at that of Noelle, as she couldn't help but that of a smug, but also, well, proud look on her face. Looking at that of her fellow female Black Bull member. With that of the High Priest saying, "I was only joking, I was joking. Don't take it too seriously." With then, Noelle saying, "How about I basically turn this far from a joke?" As she has a water spear in her hands. With Izuku saying, "Please, Miss Noelle, you're going too far." Within hearing that, she couldn't help but basically huff, saying, "Fine, fine. But try it again and you'll get a fate worse than death." Within, Magnus saying, "All right, enough fun and games. How the hell do you know that we were here for the magic stone, old man?" Within, the elder priests basically having that of a more twisted and also malicious look to him, saying, "You'd be surprised on what we can hear after all. And rumor has it that your kingdom really needs the magic stone, given how in trouble it is it not?" As the tension in the air gets a little bit, well, heightened. Before then, that tension basically goes out the window with Ghosh, Luck, and Magna basically saying, "How about we just beat him up and take the stone by force?" With Ghosh agrees, no hesitation, and Luck only doing it thinking that the Elder is pretty strong and he gets a good fight out of it. With Izuku basically screaming, are you guys serious? The eel was one thing, but you can't just beat up elders out of the blue. This isn't what the Magic Knights stand for." With on the other side of the spectrum, with that of Finral basically saying, "I'm telling you, we don't need to get caught up in with that of an old man like this. How about we just basically beat him up and take the stone already?" With even Vanessa just getting bored and tired and just thinking that she can get a good nap in for a few seconds. And Charmy just wondering when are they going to eat. With Asta on this spectrum saying, "Seriously, get you guys' priorities in check." However, that's when that of the elder deciding to bribe all of them with, well, it was easy to bribe Luck with a good fight and all and during that of the game. However, for that Finral, Vanessa, and Charmy, Finral with ladies, Vanessa with booze, and that of Charmy with good food, making it and turning it into a big party banquet after all. And they were on board from the very start, with leaving both Izuku and Asta literally dumbfounded, saying, "I can't believe these guys." With even Asta screaming, "Get you guys' priorities in check. We have a mission. Remember!" However, that's when Asta was soon kicked in the back by Yami, and soon Izuku was grabbed by the head by Yami as well, saying, "All right, that's enough out of the two of you," while still holding on to Izuku, with Izuku basically terrified for the fact that he's being grabbed by his hair again, by his captain, within puffing smoke from his cigarette again, saying, "So, what are the terms of this game of yours? Because you'll be facing against a master gambler such as myself." Within, Izuku still in his hand saying, "Master Gambler, you had our first mission basically take on your debt from a gamble that you and Magna lost." Within, Yami saying, "You want to say that again, broccoli boy?" With Izuku shutting up saying, "No, sir." With Magna cheering on that of Yami, of course. With then, Yami saying, "So, what's the terms? Dice, roulette, cards?" With that of the elder, basically couldn't help but smile, saying, "A full-on battle royale!" Basically catching everybody off guard. With then, that's when the priest couldn't help but just get more and more excited. With then bringing out that of his grimoire, which is a light green 3-leaf clover grimoire, saying, "Temple mages, come on out!" As he soon says his magic, saying, "Game magic!" As he screams out, "Temple shuffle!" As doing so, creating that of multiple lights that soon engulf the temple walls before creating that of entrance ways. Before then, that of 10 individuals soon fly out, wearing that of white robes and that of sea creature's mask, with a few of these temple mages, or temple warriors as I should call them, looking excited to face against the Black Bulls, with even Izuku looking at them as he still has that of the fourth user's grimoire out, saying, I can sense their mana, they're strong, with even Finral saying, so you too? Dang, these guys aren't really to joke with, aren't they? With the elder priest saying, now let us begin, shall we? With then, Izuku's danger sense activates saying, oh crap, everybody move! Before they can react, the place where they were basically standing begins to sink into itself as water begins to completely overflow them from not just below, but also above as well. As he tries using Black Whip to gather any one of his allies, however, the water is basically too controlled on allowing him to focus and to grab onto his allies. Realizing that this was planned from the start, and even though Izuku was ready, it seems like this so-called elder priest preparations were already far ahead before Izuku could react. As he gets swallowed up by that of the water, and soon he gushes out into that of a wide open area composed of multiple waterfalls and a large body of water in the center. Within saying, damn it. Within, that's when Kudo's saying, I told you to stay alert. Ninth, saying, I know, I tried, but... Banjo saying, lighten up on the kid. Second, honestly, when you're around those Black Bull guys, it's kind of hard not to lose any tension in the air, to be fair. Within Bruce saying, which is even more reasoning that this squad, composed of complete and total imbeciles, are we stuck with for this whole entire battle royale thing. Within, Izuku saying, third, with all due respect, please, don't call my comrades imbeciles. Within, hearing this from his successor, is then saying they may be, crazy and a little bit, out there, to be honest, but they're not imbeciles. I can tell many of them have great potential. It just needs to be properly directed, and I know it. Before Bruce could say anything, that's when the elder priest spoke up saying, now let this game battle royale begin. Now, the rules state that each team that loses a member one by one loses. However, anything sees fit. You can hide, you can also basically retreat, and you can even gang up on that of other participants on both sides, actually. Just you have to outlast that of the competition, that's all. With Izuku hearing that saying, if that's the case, then it's best for me to meet back up with the others as fast as I can, before realizing Miss Noelle still hasn't learned any full-on attack spells outside of basic water magic projectiles. I'm not really sure about that of Gray. They are kind of a wild card outside of their transformation magic. And to be fair, I never understood why Finral never used any other, attack spells after all. It's kind of, I think it might be personal, but still, if I can get to any of them, I might be able to help out. Still having the fourth user's grimoire out, as he begins to sense everybody's presence, saying, I think I can lock onto them easily. Miss Noelle has the hugest amount of mana in the area, alongside the captain, with then realizing, wait, is the captain not even here? With then realizing, no, he's not even fighting with us. With N basically commenting, saying, that makes sense, Ninth. He's your captain and the strongest among everybody within the Black Bulls, outside of, that Noelle girl. If she actually learns how to control her magic properly. They probably wanted to make it a little bit fair and pull your captain out of this. With then Izuku saying, oh man, it's almost like not having All Might. Nana couldn't help but spoke up saying, ironic given that he sounds like Toshi, but yet doesn't even act like him, as the, withering version of All Might. Kinda looks like he has a sweat drop down his face after all, even though he can't fully react to given that he's still alive. With Izuku, soon Danger Sense activates as he soon backflips back using that of 20% of full cow, but seeing that of his opponent, a robed man, and with that of a shark mask. Within saying, "Oh, you're an interesting one. I can't sense a single drop of mana off you, but yet you're using a grimoire quite so easily. And whoa, and that's what I'm. If anything, you're using 2 grimoires. You're an interesting case, boy." With Izuku narrowing his eyes a bit, is saying, "I wonder how interesting you'll be. By the way you move, you're using that of magic to enhance yourself. Ah, that's kind of boring. I was expecting somebody with that a lot more capabilities." With Izuku still not even fazed by this, as he soon pulls down his cowl and puts on his rebreather, before channeling that of 25% of One For All through full cowl, within saying, "I'll just end this now. You may be an enigma, but you're definitely not even..." Before he could finish, he was soon basically punched in the face, knocking off the mask, as it looks like that of a bald-headed man with that of, well, a scar over that of the left side of his eye. Within, as Izuku saying, "Sorry, but I got no time to waste on you. My friends need me." But at the same time Izuku did this, both Luck, alongside Magna, Ghosh, and Asta defeated their opponents simultaneously with one single attack. As Yami, who's basically outside of that of this whole entire battle royale thing, with that of the Elder, with the Elder completely and utterly shocked, seeing how that of each of his temple warriors were already beaten, within saying, "You said that all of your, well, temple warriors were on the level of immediate magic knights? Well, I got news for you, old man," as he blows a puff of his smoke from his cigarette, saying, the Black Bulls' ranks don't even compare to that of what their level truly is, as this is just the beginning of the underwater battle." And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, how do you guys think? Sorry that I put it off on that of a cliffhanger. Honestly, I'll probably be moving through this arc pretty quickly, to be honest. But I may need a little bit of refresher here and there, because honestly, I kind of only remember this arc through that of the fights with Vento, to be honest. And the underwater fights with that of the undersea temple warriors is kind of boring, so I'm going to need a refresher a little bit. So at any rate, with all that said, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to get the date when my videos on the uploaded channel. Also, please check out my Discord, gaming channel, side channel, other channel, Patreon, and Cash App. Also, if you have a what if you wanted me to do so down below for a super comment request. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later, guys, and hope you all take care. Do it, Chiro.
Hi everyone, this is White Fox. If you liked Leon's video, click the video on the left to see the most recent one. And if you want to see more of this, click the subscribe button and notification bell and check out his playlists. If you still haven't subscribed, do so in the center. With that said, I hope to see you again on my love's channel. Bye!